Welcome to the regular briefing session of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. And I'll turn the meeting over now to our Vice Chairman, Don Martin.
Thank you, Chairman Plyler. And we're now actually going over the briefing for the Thursday, September the 8th, 2022 meeting. We have no discussion items on our briefing today, so we're going to go over a kind of a quick review of the items for September the 8th. Mr. County Manager, thank you.
All right. So just kind of a quick run through. I have a couple that that need a little bit of conversation as we talk about the schedule moving forward. So I'll dive through it real quickly. We've got two special resolutions. You got a resolution in support of National Infant Mortality Awareness Month, and then we do have a resolution approving legislative goals and submission of such goals. So, Gordon, do you want to make any comments about what to kind of where we are and what we need to do?
Yeah, I would just say that if you have any legislative goals you're interested in, if you could get them to me as soon as possible, email them to me. I'll be happy to put those together. We really have to vote on those in 2 weeks, September 8th, because they have to be submitted by the 12th. And so if you can get those to me, I would greatly appreciate it. And as staff, we'll see if there are any internal goals that are staff generated, and we'll add those too for your consideration.
And we are working.
Gordon, Mr. Manager, Gordon, is there a way that you could do some linguistic work and come up with a resolution that exempts all county property from city, would de-annex all county properties from the city? Cities.
We could certainly propose that as a goal if that's the wish of the board. Yes.
Thank you.
Add to the list, and there are several items that we're working on that we'll get in front of you. So sounds good.
So since we're just throwing things out, I'd like to offer that we relook at the meeting dates quarterly to have some afternoon meetings if that's possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner
Yes,
Kaplan missed what you said.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Kaplan, I'll be very clear that I was asking for us to revisit looking at having quarterly meetings in the afternoon so others can be involved. No, it's not a legislative goals. I'm just throwing that out there as something else. Thank you.
All right. All right, very good. We've got a couple of budget and finance items. Most of them are fairly routine. You've got some JCPC fund items related to that juvenile crime prevention, council funding, and then one of those is appropriate gun and gang initiative funding. Grants, we've got about 4 grant items. One of them is a resolution ratifying the use of City County Utility Commission funds generated by out-of-county services for a project called the Stone Terrace Community, which is a habitat project that is out there. And just so you know, we're sort of going on 2 paths with that. That also was, it was included as an ARPA application. And so as we move into the ARPA application discussions, this will be an optional way of funding that, but we can dive into that really deeply next Thursday. You've got a grant to support a microenterprise individual development account with associated budget ordinance amendment. There's some more JAG funding items that are out there, and then there's also a budget ordinance amendment for stream flow rehab. Contracts, it looks like you've got a number of items related to that. You've got a contract with North State Environmental, which is actually related to that stream flow issue. DSS has a temp services contract. Kind of a routine contract with Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center for mammography screening and diagnostic services. Our tax management agreement that provides services for business, personal property auditing, and audit appeal defense services. Law enforcement duty for footwear, actually, it comes up to the level that would require y'all's action, so work's been done on that. You've got Highway Safety Program, Traffic Safety Project Grant Award for the Forsyth County DWI Joint Task Force. entertainment or security services for Parks and Recreation Services contract. As you remember, we went back out on print processing and mailing services for Tax Administration Board of Elections, so we got the results of that. And then our financial advisor, Finance Department's recommending a change to the county's FA, and so there'll be a recommendation on that. And then you've got actually policies related to the ARPA funds. There's one more policy that we need to include. And then you've got a number of reports. The only other, so that's sort of the agenda. We do need to, as we are putting together the ARPA recommendations, we have a number of panels across all those different categories of applications where we had 80 applications that came in. So the panel work is getting done right now. And so they are actually we're going to wrap that up next Wednesday afternoon. And I'm sure there will be some loose ends that are tied up from there, but we'll start getting those distilled. And then there are, I think, 14 items that were really county-generated applications. And the thought process there is that this board would serve as sort of the panel for those because they really didn't fit with any of the other panels. So it's, it's the fire services one, it's the Smart Start pre-K initiative application, then a number of them that were just from county government. And so we do need to schedule, the thought was, I had originally had it scheduled for September 15th in the morning session. And so, we would come in that morning. There's a couple of other items, but that would be one of them, and you'd hear those presentations. In talking with the vice chairman, Commissioner Martin had felt like that I think wanted to kind of get these things moving a little quicker and get final action sooner. And so the idea is that we would, that we could do that next Thursday. It's a second briefing, and so we could actually do that presentation next Thursday, and so we can kind of push that along. I guess it's the board's, it's whatever the board wants to do on that. Did you want to mention anything on that?
Well, I think I understand the panel side of it. I guess I don't want to send the expectations that all of ours are going to be funded first and the remainder of the applications are kind of afterwards. I think we could, I'm just sort of thinking of the process-wise, does that making sense too, if we're not looking at anything else? I have been thinking about that. I am concerned about the timing. I think everybody is. I mean, the meter continues to run, and it takes a long time to go through the checks once the awards are made. I mean, we know what's happened from first round, how much money has been allocated, and I'm not sure it's much. Yeah. And a lot of those were internal organizational things that people, not us, but other people had to do. So I'm just concerned about how long it's taking. We did talk about a schedule back in July that actually had us kind of this week beginning to look at sort of the work of the panels, and that's next week's a week later. Mm-hmm. And then if we go to the 15th, it's another 2 weeks later, another week later, and it just keeps getting pushed later.
Right.
But I think if you're done Wednesday and it can be, and we can take a look at, because we are just looking at that group and say, let's look at them with no expectations of approval, but this is what they are. I mean, because you talk about sort of serving as a panel, well, we shouldn't be saying no or yes to those without knowing everybody else's. Kind of what all the other possible things. I've kind of looked at the big picture summaries, but I haven't looked at, I mean, a lot of those leave questions to what does the budget really say? Yeah. When somebody says they're going to $1 million budget, what are they going to spend their money on? Yeah. And that does have a lot to do with what should be approved. So
yeah, and I think that what you'll see, I serve on a couple of the panels, so I've had that experience, and just, and you'll get, we'll know Wednesday roughly what the total amount recommended from the panel is. Now, obviously, this board can go back, and if you want to revisit one that was not recommended from the panel, you can certainly
So you're looking at maybe everything, not just the county proposal.
We are not bringing recommendations to you on the county on the county ones. So the idea is the panel do their work, we'll know what that number is. You'll see, we'll review the county ones, and the way I envision it is we will do a little like we do with the kind of the regular alternate service level, the budget, is you'll, at that point, the board will have all the county ones, the panel recommendations, and then we'll start developing some funding options on where there's board consensus around that. You know, what I don't know right now is whether we're going to be talking about, $40 million in, there's $19 million in the county request, but some of that's some of that you're not going to fund, and some of that's duplicative, so that number goes south, and then, whatever, I don't have a handle on on exactly what the panel's going to recommend. But my suspicion is we'll be in the 30 or 40 million dollars of total combined, and then we'll have to start cutting. Is where we'll find ourselves. So really the question is, when do you want to spend time? It's going to take a little bit of time for you to get through the county ones. Do you want to do it next Thursday? Do you want to do a special meeting between now and then, or do you just want to wait until the 15th?
I just soon have a meeting between now and then.
Well, it was my understanding we were going to do the morning briefings for this sort of thing,
Yeah.
where we had to have a lot of discussion and whatnot. My preference is to wait until the 15th for that morning meeting, and then we won't feel.
I would have no problem with
It's gotten
that.
to where some of these afternoon meetings are rather lengthy, and then to take on that kind of, those numbers and that information, I think we need a fresher mind, but that's just my opinion.
Maybe a compromise might be how about distributing the work that you did? I mean, we've all got, actually, the county ones are
You
more
will
understandable
definitely-
on the face.
Yeah, you will definitely get that.
But it would be helpful to see a list of the recommended so we can begin to be thinking about this, how this all mixes. And if we could get that, we don't have to spend meeting time on it, and then maybe in 2 weeks, we will have had an extra week. Actually, we've had an extra 2 weeks to think about it, to talk on the 15th. So maybe we don't discuss it, but you pass out the recommended list, and we already know what our list is, and then we can spend more time on it.
Are we close to the end?
So, well, before we end, so that, because we're so very close to ending the discussion about ARPA, one of the things that I would like this board to consider is the policy around if an entity or organization has come out of that committee, that we respect that. What does that sound like? What does that mean? Is that if they've asked for $500,000, we're not increasing or decreasing that amount. So you can kind of scale the board to see how they feel about that, but that obscures the numbers in terms of what we were working with and trying to manifest for others. It's unfair to try to create an allocation for organizations, and then we turn around and decrease or increase for others. So I think that there needs to be a policy around that. Or some policy
I could not
discussion.
support that. I cannot support that, because the issue kind of becomes one, if you force it, it's an all or none. And people that write proposals occasionally ask for everything they want, but they could probably make something very successful with less. And so if you get to that, you're only going to fund a certain few, and then some people have gotten everything they wanted, they've thrown in the kitchen sink, and then others were good ideas that could have been done with something to get started. You can always say no.
Well, yeah, but this is the
Don't do
reason
it.
why we have staff going through it now, and we're looking at it, so we already kind of know before decision-making that we're going to support whatever that amount is going to be versus adding to it or subtracting from it in our decision-making on meeting day. I'm not talking about through the briefing. talking about on the meeting day.
You know, with all that
Decisions.
having been said, pardon me for saying this, Mr. County Manager, and I apologize, but two thoughts have been going through my mind. One is Commissioner Kaplan's idea of what are we going to do with the current Hall of Justice, and his idea was to turn it into a grocery store for downtown Winston-Salem. You still hold of that, I think.
I did that.
Yes, sir. And the other question was, and is there any truth to the rumor that one of our people, when we start talking about ARCA, actually contacted the county manager and said, if you will give me some money, I'd like to start a nonprofit so I can get some of that money. Is that true?
I have, nobody's called me and said that. There's lots of nonprofits that have called a lot of people and said that they're interested in the money, but.
Well, I thought, why not start a nonprofit? We can all get some of that money, but
Yeah. So let me throw out a possibility. What if we moved the meeting on the morning meeting on the 15th to the 8th?
15th of September?
That gets us a week ahead. We keep our morning session sort of intact, and we just,
Sounds good to me.
Well, I don't know that we would necessarily need to do a morning session on the 8th and the 15th. You could just move it a week, unless you just want to, but.
Do you have stuff scheduled for the 15th that we would have to hear on the 8th?
We had a few things that were in addition to this, but it was nothing major. I mean, it was the sort of the periodic reports.
I'm okay.
Does that work?
As long as we have the materials to review, and I mean, when I say that, applications, I don't want to just see the summary. I'd like to see actually what that applicant put on the application so that I can review it for myself.
Okay. So.
And then I may have questions because I may want them to come in here and have additional comments about what they're going to do or not.
So
Fair.
we'll keep pushing to get the panel information in front of you, and then we'll be ready. We'll make sure you have the applications for the county specific, the county ones, and then we'll have, kind of quick presentation. You'll have it in advance, and then we'll have quick presentations on the morning of the 8th. And then that will, at that point, you'll have kind of full information, and we'll be trying to put all that into a fundable program. And that does get us, that buys us a little bit of time. It may be the 15th, but, it may take another week to get something in front of the board where we approve all that, but that would speed things along. Is the 15th a formal meeting? No, it would not be.
The 8th is a formal meeting and first briefing.
Okay, so we would have sort of the board recommendations going into that cycle, and you would have round 2 ARPA completed on the 22nd of September, which is pretty good.
Yeah, 8's good for me. I'm good with that.
Does that work?
So one question, Dudley. So we're going to have a morning meeting on the 8th?
Yep, we will have, we had the morning meeting scheduled for the 15th. We're going to move that up a week to the 8th.
Okay.
And then you'll go into a formal meeting at 2 that day. So it'll be a full day on the 8th, but it won't tie up.
You want to make your order now?
Okay. That works for me.
Okay, that sounds good. Just so you know, schedule, we have made good progress getting the contracts out there, and so we are now, I think we've got 15 or 16 of the contracts with the nonprofits completed, and so we've signed a document. They are eligible for funding back to July, isn't that right? And so, we'll get the dollars kind of back in once we get the contracts in place, and so we will start seeing the round 1 spend going up.
I have a question about that because there are some entities that have been forwarded to the auditing department, and I don't know who the auditors are, who's involved in whatever the information that's been sent, and then the auditors are supposed to respond back. Are they responding back in a week or 2 weeks, or what does that look like? And once the response has come back from the auditors, what does the staff do with that to the organization?
Yeah, I think it depends on the complexity. So some of the funded agencies are not as complex as some of the other ones, and so maybe we can talk about specifically
Yeah.
which ones, and Aisha can kind of tell you exactly where she is with, Aisha, I can say that she is pushing that process so that all those contracts get completed, but,
Yeah,
what
if I
you-
can, I'll probably just go in her office and have a sit down and.
Yeah,
kinda work
what you
through
got, what happened in round one was people applied for the money, they got it, and then, through this, now they're learning what the requirements are, and so and what the policies are, and in some cases, the organizations are having to put their own policies in place, and so that just creates there's just a long learning curve.
So
In
when
round
this-
two, since they've already done the training,
Right.
it should be a lot faster.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. In
Yeah.
round two, are we still at the same space?
No,
Or-
even the quality applicants, the expectations of how hard it is to receive this money is much more apparent, and so.
Okay, that's fair.
It-
Thank
it-
you.
I'm sure the staff knows, but I'm not sure you all did, but last Wednesday at the tourism meeting, the board decided to send the money back that we allocated for tourism because they simply just did not have the staff to complete all of the steps that they needed, and they felt that they just really were not capable. And they are very grateful for our sending them the money, but because they don't want to be one of the ones who make mistakes, they're going to send it back.
I have a sense that that's going to happen with more of the organizations. I hate that, but, hopefully we will create an atmosphere where we're helping them versus creating these systemic kind of barriers. But okay, thank you.
That's all.
I had one follow-up question on that. At the NACO convention, I went to one session, they talked about counties having indirect costs they can also allocate related to ARPA funding. Has that impacted our allocation at all?
So there's indirect cost rules around the applicants who are receiving the dollars, and then, we are funding some of our direct costs, with ARPA dollars, and so we're not asking the citizens to pay the administrative cost of the ARPA piece. Are we, so, we know that's available to us, and so we're taking advantage of it.
Thank you very much. Second.
Commissioner Kaplan has moved we adjourn, and Commissioner Fleming Elamine has seconded the motion. What is your thought, Mr. County Manager?
It's a good thing.
All in favor, say aye.